So our last question today is to ask you about one suggestion that you might have for IEP team leaders and educators in general that might help to increase family engagement in the work that schools are doing with kids.
Well, I can't get tired of insisting on what I mentioned before, just try to get that human touch thing in there. I think it's the most basic of things. I mean, like, just think about how you feel when you when you go into a group of people that you don't know, and everyone looks with a stern face at you, or they're not friendly, whatever, then you feel a little short, But if, somebody has a big smile to you,
Right.
and so, and this is not necessarily a question of character, I'll say, because some people, they're just naturally not very friendly,
Sure.
but I think, we can all work a little bit on that anyway, and you can be successful that way. And the reality is, I don't envy the position of sometimes, team leaders, because not only you're dealing with the families, but you also have to deal with administration.
Right.
And
Right.
dealing with administration can be a real issue. My experience as a teacher, I had a different profession during all that time, and I didn't care. The truth is, I didn't care much for keeping my job in the school, because I always had something to rely on that paid me even more money. So it was not a big thing. But I did notice there's an undercurrent of, sometimes fear even,
Right.
from people
Right.
the work, as a, team members, that they're afraid of saying the wrong thing,
Mhm.
or going against the rules or of the administration and the ethics issues, etc. And I think that can be a real drawback,
Right.
and it is a real problematic, I think, for team members to find the right path sometimes without stumbling on any of these issues.
Right.
And so I would not know really what to say about that, other than just I guess to conquer your fear a little bit
Right.
about that.
Right.
When we're doing the right thing,
Right.
I think you know it inside.
Yeah, and I think to encourage people too, as I think about what you're talking about, as someone, you've worked in schools and you've advocated, and you've also, had to partner, right, with
Right.
administration and with families and so I love that you're acknowledging the complexity of that.
Yeah.
But I also think that ultimately the thing that drives administrative practice, ethics, goes back to the very same thing that you actually wisely have kind of emphasized, is the idea of having right relationship, good faith relationship, and making the priority of your work the rights of children to an education,
Exactly.
And I think so I love what you're saying about like finding the path as a team leader, acknowledging that it's not easy, but finding that path that can emphasize compliance, but in an even greater way, emphasize the
Right.
collaboration between all of the different parties involved in public education.
In the end, I have to say that even when with the teams that I had adversarial relationships with, I always felt sorry in a way for the people that I was working with, because I knew that a lot of what was coming out of team was this out of fear of keeping your job, basically.
Right. Right.
And it's a sad situation, when I think politics, and education come before the needs of human beings, and
Right.
but sadly, I guess it's the state of affairs in many things, social,
Right.
including education. But I think, I feel also sorry in the sense that I was aware of the issues involved when we were with the people we were dealing with.
Right.
And I was sorry in the sense that many parents don't know that, because,
Right.
I was not there. I guess the only way to relate is like, well, if most people work, you know what it is like, to work for an organization and the limits of, your freedom within, or the things you can do or not do,
Right.
At work. It's just the same for a school.
Right. right,
So I guess as a parent, you should always remember that these people like you have a job, you know what I mean?
right,
And-
right,
And there are limits to what you can do, there's a limit to what they can do,
Right.
you know, in the school, because they have to follow the, you know, the rules of the administration as well, you know. But I guess in the end, for both parents and team leaders, it's always like, do what's right.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you feel that something is not right, then bring it out, you know what I
Right.
mean? Bring it out to the people that needs to hear about it, you know what I mean?
Well, and set aside, like you said, you emphasized too, something you said was, you know, you think that it's fear that's causing it, and you said, you know, set aside that fear and commit to, right, bringing it up, bring up the problem
Yeah.
rather than avoiding it, and continue to work together, whether you have a solution today,
Right.
or it's next week, or it's
It's like, I
involving
mean,
more
and
people.
things can be done because like, in my specific case, I mean, I worked with teams that, you know, were ruled that way, you know what I mean? That it was fear, it was controversial at times, there was adversarial relationships going on all the time, but then, you know, a new team came in and things were fixed slowly, you know, but surely, you know, we got to a better place. you know?
Yeah,
So it is doable.
it can be done,
It can be done if people are invested into, you know, people's issues, you know.
right,
So I think we can all really try to, you know, work on the things that we can fix, you know what I mean? And there are wrongs in our view that are unfair, you know,
right.
and we can work for it.
Yeah, I love what you said, work together on the things that we can fix, yeah. Well, thank you so much for your
No,
time
thank you
today.
for inviting me.
I really appreciate it, and I always, you know, will welcome your input and feedback into what we're doing, for sure.
Thank you.
And I'll keep calling you.
Please.